Hey everyone, it's Brian here. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we're going to do a little Photoshop tutorial and we're going to be focusing on creating a sunset design. Well, for those of you who are not new to Redbubble and Teepublic and even Merch by Amazon, you clearly know that sunset designs do really well on all of these marketplaces. And there's a ton of ways that you can set up sunset designs. I went ahead and I just grabbed 4 quick ones off from Redbubble at random. As you can see here, you have your bronze type ones, you have your pinkish purple types, all right, your kangaroo with animals from Australia, and again you have this tropical theme. And these are all easy to do, and you can create different templates so that you can use them over and over again with different color layers. And today I'm going to show you how to do a 5-layer sunset design. Let's get to it. Okay guys, so here we are. We're going to be creating this 5-tiered sunset design. Alright, and it's really easy to do. And once you get it done, and if you save it, you're going to be able to use it over and over with different color combinations. Okay, so let's get cracking on it. So here I've created a new document, as usual, with Merch by Amazon dimensions. Again, you can use whatever dimensions that you want. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer on top, and we're going to choose the ellipse tool so that we can draw an ellipse over here, and I'm just going to click anywhere on the screen once with the left mouse button, and it's going to come up with this window here. And I want to create an ellipse, or rather I want to create a circle with the dimensions of 2500 pixels by 2500 pixels. Okay, hit enter on the keyboard, and then I'll take the move tool and I'll move the circle towards the center. Okay, now here's the part which is probably going to be the most time consuming, but once you get it done, you're sorted. Alright, so I'm going to create a duplicate layer of this ellipse. So Control J or Command J on the keyboard. I'll hide the previous layer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the ellipse tool and I'm going to fill it in with a solid color. Let's say we're going to choose this purple over here. I'm going to turn off the stroke. Okay. Now, after I filled in my circle, what I want to do is I want to use my guides to help me section off the circle so that I know where I'm going to cut to create 5 separate layers. Here's what I mean. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hover above the ruler here, and if you don't see the ruler, just hit Control R or Command R on your keyboard and the ruler will appear. Okay, so Control R, climb up. So I left click once on the ruler, and whilst holding the left mouse button down, I'm going to drag a line, and I'm just going to guesstimate roughly where I want the top layer to be. Now, before you let go, what I want you to do is I want you to take note of the number that you see appear. It's 1740. What we need to do now is we need to create another line just below it, maybe roughly 30 pixels below, so that we'll have an area where we can cut. Here's what I mean. So once I let go, I've got my first ruler line down. I'm going to go back up to view. I'm going to go down to new guide, and whilst choosing horizontal, I'm going to type in 1770 because it was 1740. And boom. Once I've done it, now I've got 2 lines, and this is where I'm going to make my cut later on. All right. So let's do a couple more. So we're going to come down to roughly about here. Let's make it, all right, 2235. So now we're going to go up to View, New Guide. Now it's 2235 plus 30, so we're going to type in 2265. And now we have another cut area. Okay, now I'm going to grab another guide ruler, and I'm going to go down roughly, say, about here. So we got 2900. So let's leave it there. Now I'll go up to View, all the way down to New Guide, and I'll type in 2930. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3. We need one more cut to make the 4th and the 5th layer here. So I'm going to grab the ruler, I'm going to drag a line down, and let's say I want to drag it down to about here. So we got 3560. So I'll go up to View, New Guide, I'll do 3590. Okay, and now we have our sections. We got 1, 2, 3, even though it contains part of the center, don't worry about that, 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so now we need to do some cuttings. So we're going to grab our rectangular marquee tool. Alright, and what we're going to do is we're going to rasterize the filled-in ellipse tool that we did here. So we're going to right-click on the layer and we're going to choose rasterize the layer. Okay, and now with the rectangular marquee tool set to add, we're going to click and drag in between each of the guides whilst going across the circle. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and then on the keyboard I'm going to hit delete. And now we have 5 separate layers. Great, so our sunset design is starting to come together. Now you can make the cut width any width that you want. If you feel that you want a wider width, well, when you're setting your guide rulers, make it wider. If you want it narrow, well, the opposite holds true too as well. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to individualize each of these layers so that we'll be able to add a separate color layer to each layer, and it'll be something that we can use in the future should we want to change the colors. So here's what we need to do. So making sure that the ellipse layer is highlighted, is active, we're going to keep with our marquee tool here, and we're just going to open up a rectangle over the first layer, and then I'm going to hit Control J on the keyboard, and I've got my first layer, and I'm going to rename that 01. I do that by double clicking on the word layer, and I just type 01, or you can make it top, you can name it whatever you want. Now we need to do the second layer, so I'm going to click back on the main layer, and I'm going to drag open a rectangle anywhere on the second layer, making sure, you can see those guide rulers are also helpful because your marching ant line is going to snap to those guidelines. All right. Once it's highlighted, hit Control J on the keyboard, and now we have our second layer, named 02. Let's go back to the main circle, and we're going to click and drag, hit Control J, and now we have our third layer. I'm going to go back for the fourth, so click and drag, Control J on the keyboard, 04, and we're going to do the fifth and final layer. So we're going to click and drag, Control J, and then we're going to rename it 05. Okay, so if we hide the master circle, we have all of the pieces, and then we can just turn them on and off, and now we have our jigsaw puzzle, our sunset design. Okay, now here's where the fun begins. Once I have this, I can save it, and you can keep that as your master document for your 5-layer sunset design. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put in our individual color layers. All right, now if you watched one of my previous videos, I had shown a real cool website called Scheme Color, where they give you a plethora of different color schemes with colors that go well together. If you haven't seen it, I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. What I've done, I already went ahead and I checked out a sunset color combination that was available on this website, and I've already taken down the hex codes, and I'll leave these hex codes in the description below too as well. So all I need to do is, whilst on number 5, I'm going to go down to the effects tool down here, and I'm going to choose color overlay. Alright, and making sure that I'm in the color overlay section, I'm going to click on the color here, and in the hex code I'm going to type in color code for the fifth layer, which was going to be my bottom layer, and in this case it's going to be D01A0F. Okay, so I get sort of like a bronzy reddish orange. Okay, click OK, and then OK. Now what I could do for all of the other ones, I could go all the way down there, click, choose color overlay for each one. Or what you could do as a sort of a shortcut is you hover your mouse pointer over the first color overlay, And whilst holding the Alt key on the keyboard, so it's that first key to the left of your spacebar, you're going to click the left mouse button, hold it down, and drag to the next layer, and then let go. And there you have the colored overlay on layer 4. Now, we don't want it to be with the same hex code, so all we need to do is double click on it, click on the color, and now whilst the hex code is highlighted, I'm just going to type in the new code, and in this case it's going to be FD3900. Alright, click OK, and then OK again. Alright, and we can see our sunset is starting to come together. So let's do the next layer. Hold the Alt key on the keyboard, hover over the color overlay, and click and drag up to layer number 3. Let go, then double click on the color overlay, and then we're going to click on the color with the left mouse button, and now we're going to type our next code. In this case, it's going to be FCB913. Okay, now we're moving into the yellows. Alright, now hold on the Alt key, hover over the color overlay, click and drag up to layer number 2. Let go, double click on the color overlay, click on the color, and then we're going to type in the next code. So in this case, it will be FCE013. Okay, hit enter on the keyboard, enter again, and we're going to do the final one. So hold the Alt key, click on the color overlay, and click and drag out. Let go, and now we're going to double click on it. We'll click on the color, and we're going to put in our final code, FFFB5E. Okay, hit OK, OK, and here we have our 5-layered colored sunset. I think it looks pretty good. All right. So now that we have our sunset layer ready with our colored layers according to the design that we want, what we want to do is we want to group these together. So we're going to click and we're going to highlight all of them whilst holding the Shift key. I'm going to hit Control G on the keyboard. All right, and now they're grouped. And let's call this Sunset Original. Okay. Now I'm going to duplicate it by hitting Control G on the keyboard. This way, I'm working with the copy of the original. I'm not going to affect the original in case I need to go back and use it for something else. Alright, now let's imagine for a moment that we want to put in a silhouette of some nice palm trees or whatnot. Okay, and we can do that very, very easily. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a stamp of this sunset. And again, to do that, you're going to hit the following 4 keys together in succession. So Control, Shift, Alt, and the letter E. And that's going to create for you a new layer. All right. So we'll turn off our individualized layer, and what we're doing is we're going to be working on this layer solely. Okay. So what I went ahead and did was find a clip art of some palm trees with coconuts dangling on them, since summer's around the corner. Thought we'd make a nice tropical sunset design. And what I'm going to do is just off the side of the screen, I have the clip art floating, and I'm going to click and drag it in. And I'm going to hold the Shift key on the keyboard so that it'll come into the center. I'm going to click and let go. Now clearly it's far too big, so we have to do some resizing. So we're going to hit Control T on the keyboard, and let's say I'm going to drop it down to 150. Okay, that's pretty good. We can always readjust after. So I'm going to hit Enter on the keyboard to accept it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the clip art down as close as I can to the bottom. It's okay if the clip art goes outside of the sunset design. We're going to modify that shortly. All right, okay. So as we can see, it's looking pretty good. I wouldn't mind it if it were a little bit larger. So I'm going to hold the Shift key and I'm going to grab one of the corner handles here, and I'm going to drag up, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm going to bring each of the corner handles towards the edge of the sunset, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up just a little bit more using the cursor keys until just about see the sunset. That's fine. Hit Enter over there. Okay, so now once I have my palm tree in place, you can see that we have some of the clip art over here. Let's just change it to the arrow so that you'll be able to see. You can see some of the palm tree is in the cut areas, and obviously it's outside of the sunset. No, we don't want that. So what we're going to do is we're going to clip this clip art to the sunset design. And to do that, we're going to hover our mouse pointer over the layers for the palm tree and the sunset layer, just between them, and I'm going to hit and hold, I'm going to hold on to the Alt key, and you can see that my my icon has changed from a pointed finger to a square with a black down arrow, and once I left click on it, it's going to clip the palm tree into the layer for the sunset. And if you take a look at the design now, you can see that the palm tree within the color designs are there within the cut areas, and just outside it's been clipped, all right, which is exactly what we want. All right, now what I could do is I could also put some text if I wanted to, but for the purposes of this tutorial, we're just going to leave it at there. Now, what if I had to transfer it over onto Redbubble or Teepublic to use it for a print-on-demand design? Well, clearly we don't want to keep the black here. We want to make sure that the black is going to be cut out so that we would have the color of the shirt coming through in the area where there is the clip art of the palm trees. So whether it's a black t-shirt or a red t-shirt or whatever color t-shirt the buyer wants to buy. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut that out. We're going to prepare the sunset design for print-on-demand. Alright, so now what I'm going to do again is I'm going to create another stamped layer. So making sure that I have the active layer being the palm tree, the top layer icon. Again, I'm going to hold Control, Shift, Alt, and E on the keyboard to create a stamped layer. So if I hide these two, now I've got my sunset design with the palm trees already cut into it. Now I'm going to go up to Select. I'm going to scroll down to Color Range. So I'm going to select on the new eyedropper, and I'm going to click anywhere in the black, and then I'm going to adjust the fuzziness, rather the intensity of it, by moving this scroll bar left or right. Now I'm going to take it all the way up to 200 and make sure that I get all of the black selected. I'm going to hit OK. Alright, and there we have the palm tree all selected, and then all I have to do is hit delete on the keyboard, and voila, the palm tree has disappeared. I'm going to hit Control D on the keyboard to remove the selection. Now if I had to go into the background layer and toggle it on, well, the white is going to shine through and the palm tree is going to be white. If I had to turn off the lock icon for here and change the background layer to black, well, there we go, we have the palm trees as black. So I'm going to hide the rulers by hitting Control J on the keyboard. And there you have a nice sunset design with some lovely palm trees adorned with coconuts that you can use for your print-on-demand business. Alright? And again, as you can see over here, if I had to turn this one off and I turn off the background layer, I still have my sunset original. This way, I was working on a copy and I wasn't affecting the original, so I can use it over and over again. And if I want to change the colors, I just simply open up the arrow, I go into the color overlay layers for each layer, and I just click on it, and I can change the color to anything that I want. If I want to make it brighter or lighter or what have you. And I have that flexibility to use this one design over and over again, so I'm not always building a new circle with the cutouts each and every time. Okay, well, that's about it for today. I hope you found this this video helpful and of value. If you did, please smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It would be really great to have you as part of our community. We just started, we're still growing, so every subscription is a welcome little bonus for me. I'd really be happy with that. And until I see you in the next video, take care, be safe, bye for now.